What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my next top 10. So sorry about that. But today I will be doing my top 10 best teams heading into the 2016-2017 college basketball season. So it's about that time. College basketball season just ended yesterday on what I'm assuming a three-pointer that everyone saw from Chris Jenkins to end North Carolina season on a very sour note, and Crown Villanova is the champions of college basketball for the first time in, I believe, around 2 decades. So go ahead and start with the three outside. And at number 3, I've got the Xavier Musketeers. So they do return quite a bit. I believe if Trevon Blewett does not get drafted, then, because I know he's going to try to test the NBA waters, probably same thing with Jalen Reynolds, then they bring back 5 of their top 6 leading scorers. Trevon Blewett, I believe, their leading scorer, and also a first-team All-Big East player. And they were the second best team in the Big East, only to Villanova, close to being a number 1 seed this year, number 2 seed in the tournament. And with that many players returning, you got to give them respect as probably being a top 13, maybe top 12 team. So at number 2, I got the Michigan State Spartans. So they do lose, most likely, Denzel Valentine. Now, I think the biggest thing here is, do they lose Deontay Davis? I think he's about 50-50 right now. He will probably be a lottery pick if he decides to go into the draft, but I think he could use another year maturation if he decides to come back to college, join Miles Bridges next year, and I believe some other talented pieces that Michigan State has in place. You look at Matt Costello, Brent Forbes, this will be a talented starting 5 next year, especially, like I said, if Deontay Davis decides to come back and stay at Michigan State. Obviously, Tom Izzo's teams will always be solid and will always be a Big Ten favorite. So got another Big Ten team to round out the 3 outside, and that is the Wisconsin Badgers. So they do lose Nigel Hayes. Bo Ryan did retire, but Greg Gard led a very spirited Wisconsin comeback at the end of the season, I believe a Sweet 16 run, and they do return Bronson Koenig and Ethan Happ, I believe, their 2 leading scorers outside of Nigel Hayes. So it should be a big year up in Madison for the Badgers, getting back to the winning ways for college basketball for them. So start in the top 10 with the Arizona Wildcats. So Sean Miller decided to stay in Tucson. I don't know if he was ever going to leave. There was reports that he was going to leave to Pitt or go to Pitt at I believe about 2 weeks ago, something like that, after what was a first-round exit from Arizona. So they do lose Caleb Tarzewski, Gabe York, but I believe they got a huge W from Alonzo Trier staying. I've been high on Alonzo Trier the entire year. I like his scoring touch. He's aggressive, he's athletic, and I think another year of maturation is going to help him out incredibly. This is an Arizona team that brings in another top 10 recruiting class and is always one of the best teams in the Pac-12, probably the best Pac-12 team over the last, I'd say, 10 years. So at number 9, I've got the Virginia Cavaliers. So it is going to hurt. They lose, I believe, first-team All-American Malcolm Brogdon, and they do lose Anthony Gill, another great post player, but they do bring back a little bit in the way of the backcourt with London Parentes. I believe they do still have Austin Nichols, and they do bring in a top 10 recruiting class, I believe actually a top 8 recruiting class. Tony Bennett will lead another good Virginia team. They've been a perennial 28, 29 win team every single year. Tournament success hasn't been there of late. One of the favorites to win the title this year weren't able to quite get it done. Got bested by Syracuse. But again, they're probably going to be a top 10 team finishing the regular season next year, and they're going to be in the tournament competing as pretty much always since Tony Bennett took over. So at number 8, I got the Louisville Cardinals. So there's been a little bit of uncertainty around Louisville right now. It was kind of funny what happened to Montrezl Harrell, but obviously no longer with the team. So I believe Chinonu can never get the name right. Not sure what's going to happen with him next year. Not sure if he's going to be able to come back. I believe that he will declare for the draft. Not sure if he's going to end up going in the draft. I'm not sure if he's going to even be able to go into the draft because of NCAA violations. Their best player, and then I believe they also bring in Tony Hicks. So I believe that's their best grad transfer coming in. And Louisville will be a top 10 team if both guys are able to play next year. If not, then I think they end up falling outside the top 15. It's pretty much as simple as that. So at number 7, I've got the Oregon Ducks. So I think Oregon will be the best team in the Pac-12 next year. They bring back so much talent from a number 1 seed this past year that I believe made it all the way to the Elite 8. I think they're a little bit underrated by a lot of the way too early top 25s. If you've looked through anything, Sporting News, Bleacher Report, ESPN, CBS Sports, pretty much all of them have them outside of the top 8, and I think that's a little bit criminally underrated for a team that brings back so much talent in the way of Tyler Dorsey, Dylan Brooks, and Chris Boucher. Core of guys that were able to lead, like I said, Oregon to a number 1 seed this year. And with all those guys coming back next year, and honestly what will be a weaker Pac-12, I think you're looking at a proved UCLA team, a USC team that's probably going to stay around where they were this past year. Probably an Arizona team that's going to get a little bit worse just talent-wise. And I think it's Oregon's conference for the taking. So at number 6, I've got the maybe the Big Ten favorite. It's the Indiana Hoosiers. So it's weird to think that that's actually going to happen, or that actually could happen, but Indiana returns a lot. Obviously, they lose their heart and soul with Yogi Ferrell, but I think they return their second best player in the way of Thomas Bryant. I really like the combination they were able to form this year. It was very fun to watch, especially at the end of the year. They were able to beat Kentucky in the tournament, make it to the Sweet 16. Tom Crean was able to defy all expectations of what Indiana was supposed to be able to do this year. They returned James Blackman Jr. They returned Colin Hartman, see if he can stay healthy this year. Got one of the more pretty touches of any shooting guard, small forward, can swing between the two. In college basketball, just hasn't been able to really stay healthy. So at number 5, I've got the North Carolina Tar Heels. So obviously heartbreak for Tar Heel Nation right now, but I mean, they still bring back a whole load of talent. They do lose Marcus Page, but he had a rough year outside of the tournament, honestly. They bring back, I believe, Joel Berry. Bryce Johnson is gone. That's going to be the biggest loss for sure. But like I said, they bring back, Jesus Christ, going blank. Joel Berry. They bring back Theo Pinson. They bring back, I believe, J.P. Dakota. Not 100% sure on that. Kennedy Meeks, though, he's coming back. You're still looking at a very, very talented UNC squad. Again, another team that has a top 10 recruiting class coming in again. The biggest thing for UNC is going to be what happens with the NCAA sanctions. They should be coming down this summer, and we'll see what happens with that. So at number 4, I've got the Kansas Jayhawks. Once again, will be the Big 12 favorite. And a Big 12 that actually loses quite a bit of talent this year. This was a Big 12 year that was as top-heavy as ever, or as crowded as ever. Iowa State was incredibly talented, at least in the starting 5. They were very good offensively as well. They lose a little bit. West Virginia should be competitive again next year. They still have a pretty deep rotation. Obviously, OU loses Buddy Hield. They lose Isaiah Cousins, Ryan Spangler. They lose a whole host of their core. They were probably second-best team in the Big 12 this past year. And anyway, Kansas, I believe they bring in four or five five-star recruits right now. And Chick Diallo did declare for the draft, and Perry Ellis is gone too, so that's going to hurt. But you bring back Frank Mason and Devontae Graham, see if McCallie can kind of break out this coming year. I like what Carlton Bragg brings to the team. And, yeah, I mean, it's Kansas. They're just going to reload and be good again. You're looking at the favorite to win the NCAA tournament this past year, clear number 1 seed. And I think, again, you're looking at an incredibly talented team coming back that's definitely going to compete for a national championship. So at number 3, I've got the Villanova Wildcats, the former national champion. So They do lose a little bit of their heart and soul with Ryan Arcidiacono and then Daniel Chifo. But they bring back Josh Hart. They bring back Phil Booth. They bring back the hero, Chris Jenkins. And then they bring back Jalen Brunson. Most of the team does come back. And obviously when you're national champion and you bring back most of your team, you're going to be one of the favorites to win in the following year. So at number 2, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats. So Kentucky might have the second most loaded recruiting class coming in. Not sure what they're going to lose in the way of the draft. I mean, Tyler Ulis is going to be gone, Jamal Murray will be gone, and Skal Lavasier will be gone. The first 2 of the 3, which will hurt a lot. I don't think Skal did a whole lot. But this is also the team that's bringing in I believe they got 8 5-star recruits coming in right now or something like that. This is going to be a Kentucky team that will be a lot more talented than this past year. They still have Marcus Lee down low. And, we'll see what happens. See what happens next year. Definitely the SEC favorite. So at number 1, got the Duke Blue Devils. So there's a lot of things at stake for Duke right now. Don't know what's going to happen with Grayson Allen. That's a big thing for next year. Emil Jefferson probably coming back, see if he can stay healthy. They do lose Marshall Plumlee. Brandon Ingram's obviously gone, but they reload there with maybe even better players with Harry Giles and Jason Tatum. They signed the top 2 prospects in the country. It will be an incredible thing to watch next year if they do have a starting 5 featuring Grayson Allen, Harry Giles, and Jason Tatum. That's just unfair. And to me, I think they'll be the favorite to win the championship heading into the season. You can never doubt Coach K, even with an off year for Duke with a 6-7 man rotation. I believe they have Chase Jeter coming back again next year also, see if he can progress. Seemed like he was thrown into the lineup unprepared quite a few times. Should have a deeper rotation next year. We'll see what happens with that. They were working with pretty much a 6-7 man rotation, especially when Matt Jones went down this year. And obviously the whole PR thing with Grayson Allen and Coach K didn't go down very well at the end of the year. They kind of struggled through the tournament. But even in an off year, they were still able to make the Sweet 16. Like I said, had a really short rotation, really no depth at all. But there was some very low points in the season for Duke where people were talking about them not even making the tournament. So that concludes my top 10 teams heading into college basketball for 2016-2017. I'm just stoked for next season because that means college football is back. It's the best, in my opinion, best time of year for sports around that November time when you got college football really heating up, you got the NFL really heating up, you got hockey back, you got basketball back. Especially at the beginning of November, you got the World Series. You got college basketball back. Man, you got everything. That's all the sports. Yeah. So that pretty much does it. Like I said, already talking about it gets me pumped for next year. Really just dealing with playoff basketball, playoff hockey, baseball right now. So it's still a good time of year for sports. And you can still reminisce on what happened this past year with Villanova. It's still a incredibly fun thing to watch. Congrats to Villanova, all you Villanova fans out there. Congrats on the ship. Sorry to all the Tar Heel fans out there. I'm not a huge Tar Heel fan myself. I actually don't like them that much. But feel for you. Obviously, that's a rough way to lose. So that pretty much does it. If you've not seen my last 2 days' top 10 videos, those will be in the outro. If you've not seen the entire playlist or some videos on the playlist and you want to see the entire playlist, I'll put the link to that in the description below. So that's pretty much it. See ya. Today with my top 10 fantasy baseball sleepers, and then today I want to do my top 10 fantasy baseball busts for 2016. So today was opening day, and not a very eventful start to the season in my mind. Not that many close games. I'm a decently big Rays fan. If you guys watch a lot of,